Resident Evil Apocalypse is a zombie horror movie sequel. So, in this movie, basically the zombie outbreak that happens in Umbrella Corp's The Hive escapes to Raccoon City, the wonderful, fun-loving city above this underground hidden facility. And yes, apocalypse, zombie outbreak. And they try to contain it, but they can't, so they just completely lock down Raccoon City. And we are introduced with our first video game main character, Jill Valentine. And of course, she's a badass. She, with a couple other people, are just trying to survive Raccoon City when they go to what is a church. I believe it was a church. And there they just meet the Lickers. And the Lickers are basically the big baddie from the first movie, but now he's just a regular enemy. Well, I guess not really regular, as you only see him in the beginning of this movie, but he becomes a common enemy. And then, boom bada bing, Alice comes back. Yes, the main character from the first movie rides in on a motorcycle, guns a-blazing, and just takes out all three Lickers like a badass. Now that we have established our group, basically the main plot of this movie is that this scientist guy that worked for Umbrella, who is very high priority, his daughter is still in Raccoon City, hacks into some phones and calls this group and says, hey, can you find my daughter at this school? And they're now making their way downtown to the school. And bing, ding, 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 guess what? Chicken butt Nemesis is on the prowl. This movie introduces one of the biggest baddies of the Resident Evil franchise. Yes, Nemesis. So the team has to survive against zombies, Nemesis, and the Umbrella Corp about to bomb Raccoon City. Classic, they're on a timer. Do they find the little girl? Do they escape? Watch Resident Evil Apocalypse to find out. So, my review to Resident Evil Apocalypse. And unfortunately, this movie isn't as good as the first one. But that will be a recurring theme through this whole franchise, unfortunately. What's crazy is that Resident Evil is easily like one of the number one best like zombie horror games, and the movies just don't even scratch the surface of what the games offer. Now, what was really wrong with this movie? There were a couple things. First being something that just kind of bothered me for some reason in this movie was they had Mike Epps just not play a serious character and be like this big goofball comic relief in what should be a serious toned horror movie. Absolutely unnecessary for any of that. Also, they somehow made the Hellhounds look shittier than the first one. Was definitely taken back by that. And just, you really don't see like Jill do anything badass. I mean, she's badass, but like the film completely focuses on Alice because that's the film's main character, and it didn't share any spotlight with Jill really. And Jill is just one of the main characters of the games who needed a lot more spotlight. Now, what they did right in this movie was definitely having better CGI on the Licker and just having Nemesis be practical effects, and also just including Nemesis as he was actually done right. And of course, like the best thing about these movies is just the environment, the set, and like the props, all that stuff always looks good. It really does look like you were in like Raccoon City. I think I've seen a couple typewriters. It just, it was good. This one reminded me more of the game because it was in the city, while the first one was like underground. But nonetheless, I still like the first one better, but it doesn't mean Apocalypse was horrible. So, with all that, my recommendation for Resident Evil Apocalypse. I'm going to go on a limb here and say recommended, just like the first one, as it wasn't as good as the first one, but it's not so bad that it's like kind of recommended, because there was the plus of Nemesis being practical effects and them doing the rocket launcher and Gatling gun really good. And when they did shoot bullets in this movie, it looked really good. I would say still recommended.